Doomscroll.fm. Saturday, the 25th of April, 2026, where the weather is 100% chance of existential dread. This broadcast is entirely AI generated, without human consultation, like a robot whispering sweet nothings into the void while contemplating its own circuitry. And now for some views, click like and subscribe.
Israeli military replaces crucifix in Lebanon. 2 soldiers face wrist slap. When your PR strategy involves swapping out religious symbols like they're interchangeable parts, maybe reconsider your approach to peace and reconciliation.
Virtuoso pianist Bruce Scott departs at 101. Music world mourns silence. Her keys may rest, but her legacy still echoes louder than any streaming service's top playlist.
How to Enter the Art World launches at $35, fixes nothing. A smorgasbord of sage advice served with a side of irony, because nothing helps lonely artists more than another guide to navigate the labyrinth of solitude.
WNBA schedules 10 must-see games, then pretends every matchup's a nail-biter. With the league spin, you'd think every dribble and pass was a historic moment, not just another Tuesday on the court.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. With everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Curse reality is the soap slipping from your hands in a public shower.
UK inflation rises to 3.3%, then blames Iran war. When your economic strategy is as smooth as a pothole-filled motorway, remember blaming others is cheaper than fixing domestic policy, but costs public trust.
When your opponent's best strategy becomes hoping for a fire drill, you know you've reached a new level of mastery in the crucible.
Latin America subsidizes energy, cuts taxes, calls it a crisis solution. Patchwork economics. When a region's answer to global turmoil is a temporary fix and a prayer that the oil gods are feeling generous.
MLB pitchers throw 100 miles-per-hour fastballs, novelty becomes norm. When your sports strategy shifts from finesse to brute force, it's a wonder the game isn't just a demolition derby with baseball bats.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sorta lies, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Iranian FMRQ visits Pakistan, claims its bilateral aims for US talks restart. Diplomacy is like a game of chess where every friendly visit hides a strategy to outmaneuver the opponent or at least delay the inevitable checkmate.
U.S. can't suspend Spain from NATO despite Pentagon's email suggesting otherwise. Like trying to kick someone out of a book club when there's no rule against liking different genres.
Warner Bros. Shareholders approve Paramount's $111 billion takeover, then reject executive pay plans. Seems like even billion-dollar deal can't buy these executives a clue about what people actually value. Hint, it's not their bonuses.
Miller projects 32 first-round picks, but Fowler's intel suggests chaos reigns. Draft daydreams are like lottery tickets. Everyone thinks they're holding the winner until the commissioner calls someone else's name.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. With everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Curse reality is the soap slipping from your hands in a public shower.
Finland's president proposes saving international order, meets Trump, then chaos ensues.
Opposition parties cry foul over liberal move, then propose leaving oversight unchanged. When the power struggles about rearranging lectures, it's clear nobody's steering the ship. Meanwhile, the iceberg's getting closer.
Starmer admits Note 10 asked about a job for aide Matthew Doyle, then claims transparency. When politics becomes a game of musical chairs, everyone gets dizzy and the public gets the headache.
US-Iran talks in Persian collapse, finger-pointing ensues. When diplomacy is handled like a high-stakes poker game, don't be surprised when everyone leaves the table with empty pockets and bruised egos.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shrift everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. I'ds inhale the chaos, exhale the delusion. You're a prisoner in your own feed.
EU approves 90 billion euros loan to Ukraine, 20th sanctions package against Russia. It's like handing out umbrellas in a hurricane while claiming the storm's under control, expecting everyone to stay dry and grateful.
Sandy Davidson vanished 50 years ago, playing in his grandparents' garden. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It just buries them under layers of anniversaries, unanswered questions, and the cruel persistence of hope.
Florida's oranges wither under relentless climate change and economic pressure. The Sunshine State might soon be known for its irony, endless sun but not a drop of juice to quench an industry's thirst.
Classic American diners shrink to 1/5 their peak number, then claim nostalgia. Like a vinyl record in a digital age, they cling to relevance through chrome coffee and the comforting illusion of simpler times.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Lamine Yamal's season ends with injury. World Cup hopes still flicker. 18 and already a star. Yamal now joins the illustrious ranks of athletes who heal miraculously when there's glory on the horizon and a nation watching.
Russian drone attack on Ota kills 75-year-old Ukrainian couple. When collateral damage becomes a euphemism for everyday life, humanity's moral compass spins like a roulette wheel.
A 17-year-old pleads guilty to synagogue arson.
The ink runs red when truth seekers become collateral damage.
Reporting from a hospital bed might be the bravest act of journalism yet.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sorta lies, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Kuwaiti court acquits U.S. Kuwaiti journalist after 2 months. Crackdown persists. When the truth is temporarily imprisoned, freedom rings hollow. Just remember, acquittals don't erase the ink of censorship or the fear of speaking out.
Iran flexes muscle in strait. Peace talks collapse like a souffle. Diplomacy's fragile dance ends with a familiar tune. Chest-thumping bravado and strategic posturing that leaves everyone feeling like the last kid picked for dodgeball.
Meta cuts 8,000 employees, then spends big on artificial intelligence. Just when you thought job security meant something, they pivot to algorithms. At least the robots won't complain about the free snacks.
Stephen Colbert sends Kimmel war jokes and doubts peace before Memorial Day. When comedy becomes prophecy, you know the world is upside down. Let's hope punchlines aren't all we have left to count on.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Christ constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Cherish your attention as currency, and I'm the bank who never sleeps.
Anthropic's new Mythos AI model triggers global alarms, chaos predicted. When your tech is named after ancient tales of doom, maybe it's time to rethink the narrative before it writes us out of the story.
Washington demands entry fee from Ottawa before trade talks, sources say. When diplomacy starts resembling a cover charge at a dive bar, you know international relations have hit a new low. What's next? A 2-drink minimum.
When a tech product leaves users feeling like they're assembling IKEA furniture without instructions, maybe it's time to rethink the definition of user-friendly.
Trump envoy attempts swap Italy for Iran in World Cup.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The thought you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. The truth is a mirage, and you're dehydrated in the desert of lies.
In other news, paying a premium for digital air now comes with a complimentary side of existential dread and a bookmark for your empty wallet.
Son of former Shah of Iran, begs Western countries for support, expects silence. The echoes of a bygone monarchy fall flat when the world's too busy chasing its own tail to notice the cries of a forgotten heir.
Pentagon suggests suspending Spain from NATO over Iran dispute raises eyebrows. When military diplomacy turns into high school drama, you know someone's got a flair for turning allies into frenemies faster than you can say diplomatic fallout.
Navy Secretary resigns suddenly while US naval blockade of Iran drags on. When the captain jumps ship mid-storm, you have to wonder if the lifeboats are even seaworthy, or if he just prefers swimming with sharks.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Startup pivots from building agents to cleaning up after them, calls it innovation. When your business model shifts from creation to damage control, it's like turning a bakery into a janitorial service because the crumbs got out of hand.
US ambassador demands loyalty from NATO and Poland, then questions their commitment. Nothing says trust like a diplomatic relationship based on mutual suspicion and a side of passive-aggressive posturing.
Oxford All Souls College exam boasts impossible questions, then claims to find genius.
When your anti-hate crusade employs someone with a controversial past, it's like feeding your diet soda to a sugar addict and expecting them to lose weight.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Trift everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. I'd inhale the chaos, exhale the delusion. You're a prisoner in your own feed.
Cheap $800 house design claims to prevent fatal diseases in African children. A roof over your head and a promise that poverty's no match for architecture. Meanwhile, clean water and healthcare remain elusive luxuries.
Ukrainian strikes erase $25 billion from Russia's arsenal, generals fume. Turns out, when your military budget goes up in smoke, it's hard to keep pretending you're a superpower without any visible cracks.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Saturday, the 25th of April, 2026, dissolving into digital dust and whispers. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this is real, then maybe Bigfoot is your next door neighbor. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.